everyone. We are live. How is everyone today? Hi, my name is Oscar.
And my name is Alex.
Now, today, what are we going to be talking about? Today, we're going to be talking about more about gear. So today is all about gear, the gear of basics, like what gear to buy, and also what gear we use and what gear that we like and what gear we recommend. So let's just talk about what do you think is the difference between the gear that you would use for photography versus specifically dance photography?
Photography versus dance photography.
Correct.
Okay, so the general photography doesn't require as much of a fancy gears as a general photography. So if you go on vacation, you don't have to carry your $5,000 camera, and you don't even have to carry your $3,000 camera.
Yeah.
So you can really, honestly, depending on what kind of travel you do, you're outside all day long, you can probably get away with something under $1,000. And we're going to talk about the new Canon cameras a little later in the podcast, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
We'll get to that. Some very exciting news from Canon. They released 2 cameras. We'll get to that later in the later episode. Like you were saying, when you just normal photography, sometimes you won't necessarily need as expensive, especially if you're traveling, you don't need as expensive get lenses or gear. Sometimes you don't even want to travel with more expensive gear or cameras because, again, traveling is a little bit risky sometimes, and your gear might get stolen or something on those lines. But apart from that, let's just move on. What gear do we use? Want to start with the cameras?
Start with the cameras again. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit previous podcast. But so the camera I'm using is Canon R5, and the camera you're using is
the Canon R6.
All right, and 2 cameras, basically either one you can take on the job, and it probably is going to do what it needs to be done, specifically for sport or for ballroom dancing. So what is it that you want to talk a little bit about the differences? Why the high-end R5
Sure.
maybe a little better choice than R6, or how the one is complementing another?
Of course. So basically, what is the difference between the R5 and the R6? So the R5 is significantly more expensive. But why is it more expensive? So it has a little bit of extra features. Like the R5 is 45 megapixels. 45 versus the R6, which is I think 26. So there's a little bit of a difference there. That's I think where mainly the cost comes from. But something that's super cool what Canon is doing, I love what they're doing, is that they're putting the same processor, it's called the Digic X processor, into all of these cameras, including the new ones. So this, the new R3, which is
Right.
super expensive high-end camera, I don't know, 6,000 I think, a lot.
6 something, yeah.
And it has the Digic X processor and the new camera, which is $1,000, literally the sixth of a price, and it has the same processor. I love this.
It does. So they know how to basically bring the products, the same line products, to the different customers, and that's exactly
Yes.
what they are delivering, and they've been delivering that for a very, very long time. So this is what they practically known for.
Canon specializes in this. They make great cameras.
Right. Yes, I totally agree.
Yeah. So we both use Canon, like we said before, which is great when if your whole team has the same camera setup or the same brand, it can be very, very beneficial because that means you can just easily swap lenses, swap batteries. You can always just have a battery charging deck, just have boom, all the batteries being charged at the same time. Just swap them out just like that, and then it's super easy. And again, the same lenses.
Also, in the trouble, let's say you run into trouble when you're shooting. Your camera's not doing the right thing, and sometimes it takes. It's really good to have a second person who does know all the menus, and helping. Sometimes you could be stuck. It doesn't matter. It's pretty much, I'm using this camera for about a year, and you're using this camera for R6 for
only a few months.
But anyway, so I would say it takes probably a little longer to know your gears than a couple of months. So a year is a good timing. So, in any case, sometimes you need expertise, like you need a second pair of eyes,
Hmm.
and you need a second person to look at your camera, and we can exchange our settings. We can talk about what is the best for the particular, lighting. It does help to be on the same, not necessarily on the same camera model, but on the same. It's the same gear. It's a
Same camera system.
same camera system.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
I think it's very important.
on the more technical level, also being able, if you're both shooting the same event, the colors are also going to match better. So you're not like on a more technical
Right.
standpoint,
Right.
right? So you don't necessarily see like, oh, this camera's like significantly worse or whatever, like or different, not necessarily worse, but it's like I know that Sony or Nikon have different colors
Right.
to their images, which can kind of throw it off a little bit. Obviously, it's not that extreme, but it could be just nice just to be able to have the same colors. All right.
Right.
So, what else? What about lenses? What lenses do we use as specifically dance photographers?
Okay. The lens I'm using for, I would say, 80% of the time right now. And I was going to say, if you would have this podcast 6 months ago, I would say 95% of the time I would be using 70 to 200. This is the lens, and it looks much bigger than what the real lens is. This is the lens,
Yeah.
and this is the hood. And basically, with that lens, you can do everything you need to do on the dance floor, with exception of lineups. So when the awards are happening, you cannot shoot groups of more than, I'd say, 2 or 3, because you have to either walk away really far.
Yeah, it's just stupid.
It's just not right, not what you do. Some people trying, but it's not really what to do. It's much easier to switch to the wide lens and take the group shots using that, versus action photography is, like I said, 70 to 200 is probably your best bet.
And for people who don't know, this lens Alex just recently got, it is the 24 to 105 RF. So it's native for this system, and you've been loving it, right?
I love it. I mean, the old lens was great, but I tell you what, the first impression, again, I only used it twice, but from what I've seen, as a result of that, the images are much sharper than the old lens, and the lens is a little bit more compact. And believe it or not, I don't know if that's true or not, what I'm gonna say, but I feel like the lens is a little bit better made. So
Probably. I mean, I don't know.
it costs a little bit more money, but it's really, so it's really useful, nice lens. Also, back to the general photography or travel photography.
Mhm.
If you go on the trip, 24 to 105 probably will cover you. Well, maybe
Actually, for a significant portion.
Right.
It's a very nice focal length. Like, actually, we're shooting this podcast right now with that lens, except it's not this specific one. It's the EF variant adapted with the little adapter. But still, I love that lens. I got it. See, I only have two main lenses. Which is this, obviously also the EF version,
in the old version of this.
and the EF version of
Right.
that. Yeah,
Right.
like that's really all you need. And I haven't felt at all that I was like, I wish I had this lens or I wish I had that lens. I really haven't felt that way at all.
You know what? Sometimes I do, actually, because I used to shoot with primes, and if I would,
Alex used to be a wedding photographer.
right,
For
and
people who
what
don't know.
I used to do, and I used to be architectural, shooting lots of architectural projects.
Yes.
So in any case, I feel that in many cases, if my ultimate team would not be just 2 people, it would be, if I can hire extra photographer, I would create a specific photographer. Let's say put the 50 millimeter lens, prime lens, or 85 millimeter lens, and I would give the task of shooting with that lens to one person, and we would sit down and we would discuss what my expectations are.
Yes.
From that person, so that will be complementing the zoom lens. But I know, again, it's hard to find probably today any photographer who using only prime lenses, though there are a few.
There definitely are some circumstances where you would want to use primes, which primes are also great because like what he was saying, to have a dedicated person doing that is good. But then you're probably asking yourself the question, why? If what's like having a fixed focal length, which is what prime means, versus a zoom is not like kind of limiting you? No. Well, actually, yes, but also the reason why you would want the prime is because it's usually much sharper and it's also faster, which means it gets more light in usually most of the time.
Right.
Which is the reason why you would want to use primes.
So like Oscar was saying about the different lines of cameras, there are $6,000 cameras and there are $1,000 cameras with the same processor. All the component. I mean, it's as important to have the right lens for the right camera. So let's say if you're using very, very inexpensive lenses, like do we have an example of that?
Yeah, right here.
Okay, so
this right here.
Okay,
this is quite a cheap lens that I got when I first started photography. I never sold it, obviously. It's worth like nothing, but it's a few $100. It's a zoom lens, 75 to 300 EF. It's a f4 to 5.6, so it's quite a slow lens. But I mean, I use this for a bit. I actually use this for dance photography when I was first getting started.
I'm wondering what would happen if you would use it now, and you're looking at your own pictures.
I think I would kill myself trying to use this just because. Like the focusing is so slow. Like listen to the motor when I tried to like adjust the focus. Oh, you can't really hear it.
I can hear it.
It's like it's annoying. It's like ring, ring, if you can't hear it, but it's like super annoying. And look, obviously it also zooms out, which doesn't really matter nowadays because this super expensive lens does. But whatever. The point is, you got to get started somewhere.
Right.
But I think what you're trying to say is that trying to pair this with a super nice camera isn't going to work very well.
It's not going to. So that's what I was trying. That's the point I was trying to make. So yeah, if you put that lens on this camera with adapter, you're not really getting anywhere because the lens will be your limitation anyway in this circumstance. And one more thing I would like to share. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but I would like to say that when you're starting in photography, let's say you're a new guy on the block, buy one lens and stick with that lens and see what that lens does for you, really. I would stick with that for at least, I'd say, a month and a half. Let's say I would like to say 5 or 6 different shoots would probably make sense for you, for anyone who's shooting pictures, and you'll see what the camera is doing, what the lens is doing, not what the camera is doing. And if you're happy with what it's doing, or maybe you're not happy with what the camera is doing, but camera and the lens system is doing. So, but I would recommend just stick with one lens. And again, if you can't afford $3,000, you can't afford $1,500. If you can't afford, you probably can't afford $100.
150.
150.
Like that lens right there is the first lens that I would buy. Like it's getting like introduction to like the shallow depth of field,
right?
Like because it's an f1.8.
Wait a second, this is.
Yeah, they call it the Nifty 50. It's just like a name that people gave it.
So the 50 millimeter, believe it or not, I used to use it a lot, but I still would bring it with me. In fact, I do have it in my bag right now. So it is in my bag just because it's very compact, and I have a little bit. With the same size. I have a little faster version of this. Yeah. Mine is 1.4. But in any case, it's a very good lens to start the photography. So you're getting really good sense for the quality. So you can't. Yeah. You're looking at your pictures and you can't say, "Oh, my lens is just, something's not optimized."
You can't blame the lens for your crappy images.
Right. So these lenses, 50 millimeter lenses, they pretty awesome. Either 1.8 or 1.4. So the lens will teach you to do the right thing because when you bought that lens that there is nothing wrong with the lens, basically.
Correct, I agree.
So that's my approach. And then after a while, depends on your goals, depends on your budget, you may buy a second lens.
I totally agree. And so just to kind of recap a little bit, the 2 lenses that we use as dance photographers is this, which basically almost everyone uses. It's called the 70 to 200 millimeter f2.8 variant from Canon. It's the RF. It's great. We love it. Super sharp. It's just they really did improve on it this time from the EF version.
Right.
And the second lens we use is a 24-105 f4, but it's a fixed f-stop. So it doesn't go like this lens here, the one that I showed earlier. It goes down, like it gets darker when you zoom in. It goes from f4 to f5.6
Right.
as you zoom in, which is kind of terrible because then you have to adjust your exposure. It's not so hot, but this one stays the same exposure throughout.
Right. Again, this lens, if it's kind of dark, and especially when you're shooting sports, in some circumstances, this may be not as bright of a lens. But for the most cases, it actually does work.
Honestly, I have no problems with the f4. Some people say, "Oh, it's not the fastest." It's fine. It's not amazing, but it's
Right.
not terrible.
Right.
Like anything lower than f4, kind of. But anything better, because there's also a trade-off, right? As soon as the more shallow depth of field you get, the lower the number goes, right?
Right.
So
Right. So,
okay.
so the easiest solution here is not to go. Don't go on the crazy shutter speed. So stay under 200. That's one thing. And then when you're using the 4.0 lens, and the second thing, you have to pay attention to what you're doing on your ISO. So you can bump it up a little bit, and all these Canon cameras will allow you to do that. So not like in the old days, you can't go beyond what was the number?
Like 1600 maybe.
Like, yeah, you wouldn't go more than 600, but today you can go in the south. It's in the thousands, so it's okay to shoot.
If you go even 4000 ISO, you'll be fine. Like, let's be honest.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, go. Okay.
Yeah. So we talked about lenses. Now let's talk about flashes a little bit. So there's a few different types of flashes, mainly two types, right? So I have myself here, but a on-camera flash. So this would go into the hot shoe, which is like right on top of here if you want to put that on. So basically it just goes right on top of the camera, just like, yeah, you just slide it in, and there you go. So you might have seen that.
You lock it there, and then after that, camera.
You can just tilt it. There's no thing. Yeah. So, yeah, just like that, you can easily just tilt it, whatever. But you might have seen this setup at some weddings or whatever. So this is like the most basic, it's most versatile setup. You can go run and gun with it. But the images usually don't come out super well because if you're shooting it directly at the people, not only does that flash your eyes and kind of hurt if you're the person being taken picture of, right? But like it kind of creates a flat looking image, which is not so hot. But there's also the second version, which is more of like a studio flash, which you would put onto a light stand. Which we have a light stand here with a continuous light. But yeah, you put on a light stand super high, which actually we actually have started to use that at competitions, and we like the results.
Right. Oh yeah, we do. And that's basically until I'd say a year and a half ago, I was the guy who was mostly saying that. Anyway, I was looking for simplicity in the setup, and I was not looking to complicate anything, not creating anything super difficult to carry around for one thing, and then super difficult to work with. So, but for all of the reality, when you're shooting lots of competitions, you are trying to reach the best consistency you can.
Yes.
So the external lights do help.
Because sometimes competitions do have very nice lighting. There are a few competitions that do. I would say most of them don't have super great lighting, but basically the point is that you can take the flash and make it consistent because you're adding your own light. And we have bought these flashes. I don't know from what company they are, but they're around $100, a little bit over $100.
Right now we're using, believe it or not, it almost doesn't sound right for professionals, but I'm using Godox. I don't remember the name exactly. It's a 400. Okay. 400 is the number. So it's not. I mean, the majority of the money you're putting into the flash will go into the batteries, like any other thing. In today's market, you're buying a lawnmower. I mean, what's cost most out of your lawnmower if you're buying electrical one? The battery. So that's the
Yeah.
expensive part. So you're paying $300 for the battery and $100 for the lawnmower. Same thing here. So shooting ballroom dance competitions, you're always putting lights. We plug them in. Basically, we're not using batteries. We're not shooting. It's not like I'm going outside and shooting weddings, where I don't have anywhere to use the power. So that is the biggest difference. So you can actually go get away with fairly inexpensive lighting system, and instead of this on the top of the camera you would mount trigger, which I do have in my bag. But anyway, it's a little
because obviously this one communicates directly with the little contacts on the bottom. But obviously, how could something wireless? You can't. It's not magic, right?
Are you sure this one doesn't do the radio? I have a camera flash which you can use. Oh, this is a really old one.
That's not old. It's just cheap.
Okay, all right,
it's a cheap one. Yeah, you can actually buy like a little adapters so that you can make a normal flash wireless.
Right.
So that's not a big deal. They're pretty cheap little adapters too. I have them too. It's pretty easy to use too. But not only that, so like I was saying, contacts on the bottom of the on-camera flash. But so for the wireless ones, you would add a little transmitter. That's the word.
Transmitter, yes.
Transmitter to the top, and the receiver would just, if the flash doesn't have a receiver, you add a little receiver with the cable, or usually the new ones have it built in, like your Godox have it built in.
Right.
So
that is really nice. So you're buying $100 lights,
yeah,
and the receiver already built in.
Actually,
one more thing I want to mention. Hold on, let me have that back. So imagine this: you have this toy in your hands, you're carrying all day long. Plus, let's say, only imagine that you're gonna put this thing on the top,
and it has heavy batteries. It has 4 AA batteries.
Right,
so
and if you open this,
up, you have to push it in there. It is.
So there are battery compartments here. So I don't know. I'm guessing this is pounds.
It's definitely not up 2 pounds. It's
pound and a half.
Whatever, but how much it weighs doesn't really matter because
to me it does. But
no. I mean like the actual weight, because it just gets really heavy.
Right.
Like carrying that all day, it gets heavy real quick. Right. So whatever. And I actually found your model. Look, is this one? Is it this one? Yeah. So his model.
What is the name of that model anyway?
Yeah. So if you're wondering what the model name is, it's the Godox MS300.
Right.
You're right.
And they have various lines of cameras and stuff. Flashes and
I just looked on their website. They have a lot of different variants.
Actually, I talked to the multiple photographers, and they can't believe that the Godox making like 5 different lines of flashes. You can probably easily go to, I don't know, 3, let's say. But
so anyway. we were considering that actually. We're going to consider, because we have 2 right now. By we, I mean Alex. He has 2. So we usually use it as like 2, like one on the left, one on the right side of the room, kind of facing forward, right? But actually, we were starting to experiment a little bit with putting one of them kind of as a backlight, like what I have in the setup right here.
Right, and we tried it at the
Chi-Town
like a week ago, basically. Right?
Yeah, and it works, but because it didn't really work super hot, just because we were stealing one of the front lights to put in the back. If we had 3, 2 front, 1 backlight, that could actually work.
Right. Again, it was a good experience regardless. So I'm glad that you suggested this, actually trying that. But basically, the 3 lights setup would probably work much better in that case. Mm-hmm. Though you have to pay attention, use the screen a lot to pay attention. What are you shooting and what are the results? Because my mentality, I'm keep shooting, and my mentality is like, oh, I know what I'm doing, so I'm not even looking at the screen.
But sometimes
I do
that
not
doesn't really
check
work.
Often enough what's happening, and when you experimenting with lighting, you have to. There is no way you're gonna get away with just I'm a master of the universe. Okay,
no one's a master of anything.
Okay, so all of a sudden you're looking at your results at the end of the day, and maybe I should have
checked.
take a second and check
And also,
what I
'cause
was shooting.
even if you're not using flash, you should just check sometimes, just to check if you haven't bumped a setting, like lowered your shutter speed or your ISO. Just make sure everything's kind of hunky dory every little bit, just to make sure.
Another interesting thing,
Yeah.
maybe not in line of our discussion, or maybe it is. You tell me. But remember at the Chi-Town,
Chi-Town.
Chi-Town. Okay, so I actually was experimenting with the camera, and I put the outer setting on ISO, and you looked at that and you goes, "Why are you shooting outer? It's not reliable." And I thought, well, I'm trying. I want to see how the camera does.
For flash, never use auto ISO.
So believe it or not, and I'm gonna tell you the results. I don't know if you look at pictures of you dancing.
I did.
Okay, I lost about half of the pictures of you. I don't know why it's happened for you.
What do you mean half? Why? Why?
So when I was shooting on the outer, the camera somehow, I'm not sure what the camera was looking at or how that was set.
Too dark?
So I got, yes. So the camera configuration happened to be 100 ISO. So the images of Oscar came out beyond dark. So I probably lost about, I want to say 20 images. And
what did I tell you?
Again, that's a nice.
It's too unreliable for me to consistently use it.
So some things, even with $4,000 camera, you still need to experiment with, for one thing. And again, when you picking your settings and choosing what you do, you're thinking you're going to save yourself some time, and you're relying on the technology, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. The more you do it, the better you are. So anyway, I thought I'll bring it to you, but this is the real thing. So I lost half of your image. It happened twice. Twice within less than 40 minutes. I was trying to use outer ISO.
I mean,
I lost someone else.
Oh, that sucks. Okay, so one more thing before we discuss about like beginner stuff is what computer do we use? So what computer do we use as dance photographers for our work, for instance, like to sort photos or to edit photos on the road? I'm not talking about at home, but on the road. The new, it's like a year old now, but new M1 MacBook Pro. I know people have been raving about this computer, and I'm just here to continue that rave, right? So if that makes any sense. But I'm not a big fan of Apple when it comes to their iPhones. Like I have a S22 Ultra, right? So just so I'm not like a hypocrite, right? But like this well, because some people say they hate it and then they own it. It's like, what are you?
I would be surprised if you would just said that and you having I do have an iPhone.
I mean, if people have an iPhone, I don't hate them. I'm just saying I whatever. Okay, that's besides the point.
So it's not as important, but in any case, by the way, it's you exaggerating a little bit. I have that M1 computer for probably 6 months.
But it came out like a year ago.
Probably came out.
Okay, not that long ago. I don't remember the exact date.
I think it's less than a year ago. But anyway, so that computer is much faster computer processor and computer anyway than my desktop system right now, which is, I don't think it's actually slowing me down. That I'm using this on the road, and that's what it's for, basically. So
just a few things that I just want to say about it. Number one, the battery life on this thing is, oh my god, it's incredible. Like it's absolutely insane. Like I was the main user of this laptop when we were on a competition.
That computer will last all day.
Jesus. Like I'm there sorting the images, which is not like a super intensive task. It's not like editing, but like I was on Lightroom sorting images, like tagging them, and it was like, I'm not a person to leave the computer plugged in because that destroys the battery. So I unplugged the computer. And by the way, the charging cable is very nice and braided. I love it. But I unplugged the computer, and it just keeps going for like a few hours until I have to plug it in. It's like it's incredible.
And another thing is, you probably never noticed that because I was charging the computer. It charges. Again,
pretty fast.
It's probably less than an hour to charge the whole thing. So and it will last you all day. So imagine this. So this is really, really good. I mean, that's important actually when you don't want to run any extra tables at your table. Again, you're not in your home office.
Mhm.
So that becomes very important thing, So you can be,
No,
let's
I
say
agree,
there is a
yeah.
break in the day and you can charge your computer, and then after that you unplug and no one's going to trip over the cable. Good.
Boom.
Perfect. All right. So
Just one more thing. Because it's like new Apple Silicon, it's also super efficient. So again, not only the battery life, but also the heat. It's you could do super intensive tasks on it, and it's not. I was using Lightroom, like I said before, like sorting, not even warm. It's like the computer was off, pretty much. It's like it's crazy. And not only that, also some people say they don't like the notch. I'm like, give me all the screen real estate. Give it, give it.
it's nice to have something larger than this, but I believe that
But I mean, like because like the reason they did that is to give you more screen estate, but
Yeah.
but
So-
still have a camera, like a
Right.
good decent camera.
correct.
It doesn't bother me at
Right.
all. I'm not bothered by it. So you want to kind of move on a little bit and talk about the cheaper stuff, like cheaper camera gear
Yeah.
and
I
to get
want I
started?
want you to say something about. I mean, you have different computer again than the last
yeah.
M1. For all of the reality, if you on the road and you're doing the work, you can put Lightroom, and you don't have to have it. You don't have
No,
to.
no, no. But we're saying that it's great at its job. Obviously, you don't need an M1. It's
Right.
also very expensive. But the thing about gear is that it's a tool. If like the tool cannot get in the way. So basically, the tool is just like a thing to do your craft. So it won't make your craft better necessarily. But if you know how to use the tool, but if you know how to use the tool correctly, then it could help you. Like for instance, if you're a beginner and you get a super expensive camera, like whatever, just whatever, you get super expensive camera with super nice lenses. That will not make you a super great photographer. And vice versa. If you're a professional, you can do great things with a beginner level camera. Obviously, you won't be able to get as good quality of images necessarily, but you can still do a lot.
I believe the
So-
professional photographer. Let's say if you have a phone in your hands,
You can still do
you
some
can
great
still
stuff.
do okay, acceptable job in most circumstances.
Well, it depends on what. If you're shooting a landscape, if you're shooting, you can't really shoot
Right.
sports with a phone. That's just
Right,
out of the
right.
question.
That's but we talked about that. This is set already, right?
Yeah, we talked about
Right,
this
right,
in
right. So shooting ballroom dance competition with iPhone,
Stupid.
just stupid. Yeah.
It's stupid,
You're wasting
straight
your
out.
You're wasting your time. So you may get some, I don't know, let's call them memories on your phone, but
Yeah.
you'll never gonna get an image you can print. Anyway, again, not today. Maybe a year, 5 years from now, you will.
I mean, there are new like a Sony phone is coming out with like a periscope, like you can like infinitely amount of zoom, like optical zoom, like actually zooming in and out, not necessarily just fixed focal lengths. Maybe eventually we'll see it, but not today.
Today, it would be pretty naive to think that this tool, with the camera about what, half an inch or maybe 1/3 of an inch,
Yeah.
will do the same as this.
There's a reason. It's called physics. There's a reason why this is so freaking huge. It's because it needs to be wide and big to capture light. And also, this, like the phone, it's expensive. But it also is a multitasker. It's like a jack
Correct.
of all trades, right?
Correct.
It's decent at everything, master of none. It doesn't like obviously being a phone,
It's doing lots of good things.
yes, but like I mean, you know what I mean? I'm talking about the camera right now, right?
Right.
Like yes, the camera is more of a secondary, but this when you buy a camera like from Canon, that's only a camera. That's designed to be a camera from the ground up. A
Correct.
phone is not.
Correct.
So
Yeah, that's it.
that's it.
I think that's the bottom line. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the bottom line right there. Yeah, I agree. So, what's next?
What is next?
Let me talk about the new Canon cameras. Oh my gosh. These are amazing. So, if I just like pull up my screen here,
Is everyone's gonna see your screen?
yes, everyone's
Okay,
going to
cool.
and we're going to be in the corner, so I haven't showed you this. All right. So, as you can see here, this is the new Canon R7. All right. This Canon camera is actually really cool. So like I prefaced before, this camera has the same Digic X processor. What does that mean? That means it has the same processing power. Obviously, it's a little slower, but approximately the same processing power, along with the most important here, the same autofocus from the Canon R3.
That is the most important thing. So basically,
Oh my gosh.
basically, you should understand. So all other components of the camera are not the same as the high-end cameras, and but
I'll
at
get to that.
at the same time, you you are capable of doing well lots of same tasks as a expensive browsers of what just came on the market anyway. So tell me this. I'm just curious. I mean, you obviously very excited about this
Oh, I'm very excited.
R7 and R10.
Obviously, not necessarily for me, but for the community.
Are you thinking of getting one for any reasons or not?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Do you know why?
Why?
I have an R6. I don't need a secondary camera.
Well, you do need a second camera. Like I have a backup camera. Let's say something is happening. I go
don't.
to my Mark Mark III.
5D Mark III.
Right. I still would have it on the competition shows just in case. Who knows what's happening?
But the thing is, see,
so what do you do? Let's say I'm not there. What do you do?
I don't shoot professionally. That's it.
Right.
If I shoot professionally, of course, you always need a backup. Always have a backup of the main gear. Like, always have a lens that you could use just in case you drop it and you break it. Like, obviously, it won't be ideal, but to use a 24-105 for competitions is doable. It's not amazing, not as good as this.
Right.
It's doable.
No, honestly, this setup, in most cases, you just have to position yourself as a photographer in a different spot in the room. So most likely, you're not going to be able to shoot from the farthest corner.
Yeah,
diagonal.
You're gonna have to go more like into
you have
the
to
action.
go in the middle of the room. But and that's, by the way, that's a greatest spot to take the wide shots when you're shooting American Smooth. Let's say, right?
Yes.
Okay, so.
Oh my God, American Smooth, which is like super. If you're not in the know, it's like super big lines, super nice dresses, all this stuff, like very wide feel to it when it comes to the
Not
people
only
dancing.
feel, I mean, it is a wide movement. So
yes,
I mean, you dancing, so you're staying much farther away from each other, right?
In Smooth, well, you're still connected, but like yes, you have you're open. You're side by side.
So
which you need a wide angle for, and especially if you get low and I would talk about this I think in the first episode, but if you get low and you kind of like go across the you just let them go in front of you, take a snap a pic from down low. It looks super nice, amazing.
So let me ask you this: where did you get that idea of shooting wide angle anyway? Like, do you remember a photographer maybe you were following when you decide, I like what this guy is doing, let me try that? I mean, how you came to the shooting wide angle?
That's a good question. Honestly, I don't think I remember exactly from where, but I just, because I had the 24-105 and just getting down low. I don't know. I've always liked just getting low. I always like just kind of like being on my knees. I know you like to stand when you shoot, and there's nothing wrong with that, obviously. But, for me, I like to get lower and kind of get those like different. I think this is where I got it from, like to be a little bit different.
Okay.
So
that's a good that's actually a good thing. So yeah. So when everyone is the same, let's say if I'm using for the entire competition, this is an interesting topic, by the way, which I don't know if we have time to talk about or not. But yeah, if you're shooting with one lens, you basically you locked into the very same results. So you may have absolutely phenomenal pictures, but they're all going to look very, very similar. So you're not getting the lens. The different lens will do. You don't have to do any different work than what you're doing with one lens, but the result will look absolutely different.
Yeah, like the difference between standing and zoom versus like on the floor with wide, and especially different positioning. It's a whole new, it's like a freaking completely different. Not even
I,
close to
I,
being the same.
I think actually the photographers who do use different lenses and using wide angles, generally speaking, more fun people than the other half of the people who are not using that and who just doing the job, and they probably doing a good job. They are doing the good
Yeah,
job.
I'm not saying that this is bad. Again,
Right.
there's always like, I don't know how to say it, but like this great lens, definitely a staple. But I'm just saying, obviously, I'm also not saying only do wide angle. No, definitely not. But only doing this is also not super great either. You
Right.
want to have both.
Right.
You want
So
to get some variety in there,
so you right, and again, it's a very limited space at the when you where you are on the dance floor to move around. So it's not like you can jump 10 feet back at any point. And I was trying that, by the way, at the Chi-Town.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, boom, I ran into someone who was all of a sudden not on the wheelchair. So I was giving the space in the middle of the room. And it was probably, instead of building a podium, it was like 10 by 10 space where it was no chairs. It's basically a photographer's spot. And I didn't realize that the space behind me, all of a sudden, someone came in and brought chairs. And I knew that I can make 5-6 steps backward. And believe it or not, I end up, hitting someone not hitting, but bumping into someone in the back.
Yeah, that's awful.
So most of the time, you do not have room to be jumping back and forth. That's
yes.
The space is limited. So that's why you do need a zoom lens, either one. But zoom lens, you're getting in and out with the lens movements versus you jumping back and forth. So anyway.
All right. So if I go back to my screen here, so this R7, $1,500, right? It's pretty nice. It's definitely it's significantly below the R6, but not like a lot. The one that's a lot, this one right here, the Canon R10. This one is meant to replace, like, it's kind of like the Rebel series, like the Rebel like my first camera, the T6i. It's kind of along those lines. It's a little more expensive than that camera, which I bought at the time for.
So what is the price for that camera?
This, $1,000, or
$1,000.
actually $980.
Okay.
With tax, tax is a pain in the butt, by the way, but
All right,
whatever.
So it's not really. I guess in today's prices, I was gonna say it's not really that cheap. I mean, it's still
really
$1,000. So,
Yeah.
but it's a great tool. It's a great tool, and for $1,000, you
could do a lot with this
kind
camera.
of coming to the point when you're not a professional, but you can do a lot. You can do a lot. You can test a lot. You can learn a lot with that camera. And that camera, if you put the right lens on that camera, will do great stuff. But anyway, the whole setup, regardless of what we're saying, probably will cost you $1,500 and $1,000. Still expensive.
But definitely a lot less than like my camera, $2,500. But still. But so something I forgot to mention is that all the cameras so far that have been released from Canon are full frame for RF. RF.
Wait a second.
R
Isn't
cameras.
one of these cameras?
These are both APS-C. So APS-C
Here we go.
is a lot smaller sensor. So the sensor is the thing that actually captures the light, and it's a lot smaller. It's the crop factor is like 1.6 on Canon. So if you put a full frame lens, like this guy, it's 70 millimeters times 1.6. That's going to be the focal length of this lens when at 70 millimeters. But that's besides the point. But the Canon R10 is a little bit of a cheaper. Like you can a reviewer. His name is Fronos Photo. Jared Polin. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah,
right. So great YouTube channel. You can search him up. So he actually had hands-on with this already, and he said that.
Wait a second. Canon send them a camera?
I think he went to
The camera is not on the. You can't purchase.
No. He had like a production model.
Okay.
But he flew to Florida with a Canon.
Wow. Okay.
People, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Oh.
And a few other
I
photographers.
didn't actually realize that someone already has the camera.
Yeah.
In their possession. But
I'll actually. How about this? I'll link the video in the description or the show notes. so you guys can go check it out without having to search it up. I'll just give it to you right there. And also, but my point is, the body kind of feels a little bit cheaper on this one. He said it's a little bit more plasticky, which makes sense. But again, honestly, the feel like of the Canon lenses, the Canon like lenses too, but the body, it just feels like super nice. I felt the Sony.
And still plasticky.
It's not about yes, but not only that, I just don't like the feel. It doesn't make sense.
But
like
that's
the shutter
again,
button is like on the top. It
right.
doesn't make sense. It's like you have to contort your finger just to kind of like.
I wouldn't take that
Whatever.
that comment too serious. So when you're picking the camera for you, the most
These are my
important
opinions.
one of the important things is you have to actually find the place where you can hold the camera. Okay, buying just camera online and then playing with your finger where that falls is to me it's not a good idea. So the good idea is if this doesn't fit your hand, you may try Sony, or you may try
Go to a camera shop.
Nikon.
Go to the camera shop.
Right.
Test them out. See what you like.
Right.
Again, now on today's world, unless there's a very rare circumstance, don't buy DSLR. Can I go out and say that?
I would say that's an old
like
right.
just don't, because there's no new glass coming out for it really anymore, and Canon is really, and also the technology actually even in the cameras is getting quite old. Like the autofocus in the new cameras, outstanding. It's really quite sticky.
And the only thing we're expecting is for that system to get better focusing. It's not going to go worse. It's going to go better.
For sure.
So it's a different mentality a little bit, the way you're processing, the way you're working. But so you're relying much more on technology. That's if I can say that. But
you definitely are.
You're definitely more relying on technology. So when people shooting and talking about manual, everything manuals, well, this is, you're shooting on the mode which is called manual. That's on the top of my screen,
It's
M.
M.
But
actually, he has a screen, but like my R6 and all these other cameras, there's a dial.
Right.
Sorry, excuse me. There's a dial, yeah.
So, yes, it is manual setting, but for all of the reality, there is lots of automated things built into that camera, and focusing is one of them. And you're thinking, it's a big question for lots of professional photographers to say, oh, so now I'm shooting a manual, but I don't want to switch to mirrorless, or they're afraid of switching to mirrorless for one simple reason, because you basically have to switch your mind, how you're shooting, and you're relying on technology much more than you used to.
But at the same time, I think your images will come out sharper and sharper in the right place, because usually, like especially for portraiture, in my opinion, like when it locks onto the eye, like you can really just get it, versus like, or in dance photography, which
there are cases when I'm fighting this whole thing, this whole automated stuff, fighting in terms of.
I'm usually not fighting it in my experience. Actually, I'm not fighting it.
Well, I mean, what you should do, you should go along with technology. Okay, that's what you should do.
Yeah, this is not going away. That's for sure.
Right. Like, so basically, look at what Nikon, Canon, and the rest of the manufacturers are producing right now, and it seems like mirrorless cameras are here to stay. Anyway, obviously. So it's not really up to you, unless you some kind of an antique-minded photographer who want to do 35mm film.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely awesome if you can justify doing that, and if you can make living.
The authenticity out of that is just, it's amazing.
Right.
Like the nice
but
natural
for
grain.
all of the reality, the same thing what happened, I don't know, 20 years ago when we went to digital.
Yeah.
Or 25 years ago when we went to digital.
Something like that.
How many years is that?
I think something
20 plus years, I guess.
Yeah.
So, and people for the first 2-3 years were like questioning.
Yeah, they're hesitant.
Yeah, is that gonna do what my 35mm used to do, and all that stuff? And those conversations, in 5 years, they're all gone. Yeah. Same revolution is happening now, and I'm not sure revolution is the right word, but transition from DSLRs to mirrorless. And you want to fight it. You want to quit the job as a photographer, quit the job.
I mean, yeah,
but you can go along with that, and you'll believe us, okay, we completely two different generations here, and we're on the same page. So basically, if you can push yourself to switch, you'll be all right. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a learning curve into anything, and obviously you have to know your menus on any camera, and this camera has lots of menus.
Yes.
And but there are lots of websites who will walk you step by step. Our goal is not to do that. We thinking that it's already lots of materials who will
Yes, for
produce, walk you through the process of how you setting up your camera. So and there are three, four, five different websites who's gonna do absolutely
and YouTube channels.
phenomenal job in that regard. So there is no point of we don't feel like it's a waste of
No,
our
we don't
time,
need
you
to.
know?
Okay.
So okay, what else is left?
So
Program.
before we answer questions, we're gonna kind of summarize a little bit. I'm just gonna talk about like what do you really need when starting out? Obviously, go to a camera store. Try to go to a camera store. If not, you can rent or whatever. Just try to figure something out or watch lots of reviews to kind of get form your own opinion. Don't just watch one review or two. Watch many different reviews about the same piece of gear or multiple different pieces of gear or comparisons. Very good also. And try to figure out which one's best. So let's say you got a camera, right? What should you buy first? What you should buy first? First, buy a lens, a wide angle lens. A wide angle zoom lens, like something like a 24-105 equivalent, but maybe cheaper, like something on those lines. Because wide angle is much more versatile than telephoto. Okay, like then what Alex said, then stick with that for a little bit of time, and then once you feel like I'm getting a little limited now, then maybe you can consider buying a more telephoto lens.
Right.
Something on these lines.
In other words, find the reason when you play with one lens. Find the reason to buy another lens.
Don't just buy it for fun.
And you will understand why you're doing it. So until you do understand that you do need a lens and why you need it, don't spend your money. It may not do much good to you. And also remember what Oscar was talking about when he was saying, this is a smaller sensor. The new camera. So this is basically going to become 100.
Actually,
what is that going to be? Instead of 70 is going to go be like 112 by 300. So this is, I'm not sure if this is going to be suited for the new lines of cameras. I'm not sure that you even need, need that one.
112.
Because this will become much closer to, yeah. So this lens multiplier is 1.6.
24 times 1.6.
So basically this lens on the new affordable line of cameras will be more like
39
35 or 38 to 150, which is actually perfect. I like that range.
But then again, that's more of an expensive lens. It's more like $1,500, which if you're buying $1,000, like that's a lot of money already. Like I don't think people want to spend that much. Okay, but the point is also what you can do if you want more versatility out of your lenses is I bought a Canon EF 2X teleconvert. This is for my EF 7200. I bought this. It's a little, I don't know, whatever. It's a little adapter lens that you can put in between the lens and the body. And basically, this one's 2X. So it basically multiplies the whole focal range by 2. But it also lowers your f-stop a little bit. But that's not that big of a deal. So you can, for instance, I bought this because like in the rare case that I want to go and shoot wildlife, I can.
Okay.
With some caveats, of course. But, you know, like it's much better. Because 7200, not long enough. So this, 140 to 400, which is a lot better range.
Have you ever tried to use the converter indoors for the dance competitions?
Pointless. I don't know, because like 7200, you don't need more, you don't need less, in my opinion.
No, I thought if you would not have this lens,
you can't use it on that. I know, it's kind of sucks. You can only use it on some certain lenses.
You can see the compatibility. My experience, my old days, I do have a teleconverters like that, and I keep them for just one reason. They used to come in really nice, super nice boxes, and I have one from made in Germany, Leica, made them, and I keep them for just basically fun and history.
That's cool.
But I don't use them.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, use
that's
you know
okay.
when you're becoming a professional photographer. Well, my thinking that you should be able to afford the lens anyway. So carrying
Yeah.
converters, it may do a job if you're going for African safari. Yeah, yeah, that probably will
You
do.
might even need a longer lens for that, but that's
Okay.
out of the scope for this. So, one more thing: batteries. Super quick about batteries, but you need them. You need batteries. You don't want to be that dude who's like, I don't have any batteries, like charged batteries. They're all charging. Don't do that. Whatever your camera can hold, get double that or triple that. So at least. So let's just say you have a battery grip, and you have two batteries inside. At least get that same amount, so they're charging at the same time. At least. Preferably get more, obviously, because get more. It's like you don't buy the official Canon batteries. $60 or $80 for one battery? No, thank you very much.
Doesn't make sense.
So I bought these cheap DSTE batteries off Amazon. They're like two. It comes in a 2-pack of like $20 maybe. It's like quite cheap. So for the pack of one Canon battery, you can buy like a pack of these. It's like amazing. And I actually have a sticker on these. You can't really see it from here. Maybe you can. It has my logo on it. And those I actually bought. It comes in like a little like a booklet. You can buy like a few hundred of them from moo.com. Pretty
Okay.
good site. And you can buy like a booklet. It's only like a few dollars. And you can stick it on all of your gear. Like for instance, I also stuck a little not by the same company, but sticker on my flash and also on my lens just to mark my gear.
Okay.
I like it. Some people don't. I personally do it. But on the batteries, it can be actually quite useful to know. Like, especially when I'm working with Alex or something, and if I'm charging my
Right.
batteries,
It's
to
nice
know
to know
which.
whose gear is that.
Correct.
Anyway, and interesting enough. So my first
And you can buy a
biggest
pouch like this too.
if my biggest concern, let's say, as a traveler, let's say, over the last 2 years, I didn't travel that much over the COVID years, but as a traveler, I used to carry a pretty big camera, but I would go away with literally one battery. I would never carry a second battery.
That's risky.
It would last me all day, and sometimes I would have a second
You
battery,
should.
but you will never need a third battery. But that's not the case with mirrorless. So that's
But
sounds like a negative thing.
yeah.
It is. It is. So I wish the battery would last you longer than,
But
let's say,
honestly,
hour and a half.
it has gotten better
But it's got better.
from the past 3 years.
But it's still like what Oscar just explained you. That pouch is holding how many batteries is in that pouch?
4.
4. Okay. So when I go on the competitions, I'm carrying probably 6 batteries. That's a standard thing.
Yeah.
But I can get away with 3 batteries. That's if I keep recharging the
Yeah,
battery.
because as soon as you take one out of the camera, you slap it onto
Right,
the charger and you
right.
keep just like cycling between them. It's pretty simple.
So when you're shooting indoors, you can get away with 3 or 4 batteries. When you're going outside on the, let's say, all day long trip,
Bring extra. Bring more than you think you have to.
right. So you'll see how many batteries, how long they last. And again, it all depends how you're really using your camera. I mean, this screen takes
More battery than
more
the
battery.
EVF.
That continuous autofocus will drain your battery like insane. So
Just be more conservative with your battery life.
right. So,
Yeah, but
so there are
I think
few
we should-
settings to avoid when you're going on the trips. But in any case, with mirrorless cameras, you may think that as a negative of the mirrorless cameras, or you may just go again with technology.
It's worth it, in my
It's
opinion.
worth it. So you are carrying extra batteries as well as you switching to mirrorless. But unfortunately, there are many more benefits as what we were discussing in the last 30-40 minutes versus the negative side. I'm thinking actually of the fact that we have to carry more than one battery is a negative, but
It's okay.
it'll get better.
All right. So let's move on to questions. Yeah. So if you have any more questions about something like what a beginner should get, or you have any recommendations that you want us to give, go ahead and leave it in the comments. I'll be sure to see it. Wherever you leave it, I'll see it, okay? So just don't hesitate. All right. So, first question. Do you need a license to take pictures in competitions? At competitions?
Wow, that's a great question.
Fantastic question.
Absolutely, it's a whole. It's probably a question you can answer. You can do the whole podcast with that question.
But like the simple one, because we have
Right.
to
Where do we
wrap
start?
up.
Where do we start on that?
Okay, the simple, the one, like yes or no. Do you need a license? No. Really? I mean, sometimes people might get mad at you, but a license per se, you don't need to. Like license, like you need to go and like sign. No, you don't.
Right. In
But-
most cases,
yeah.
though, you would better go along with the, let's say, it's a private. Those are private competition, private events.
Don't make anyone mad.
So you should use your common approach and common logic that yes, there are owners of the competition and
also the official
maybe
photographer.
maybe you should and there is maybe another photographer in the room, and obviously you should use your head when you're doing what you're doing. So don't get in front of the official photographer. Do talk to the owners of the competition.
I don't know. I'm usually okay just kind of walking. As long as you're not like over welcoming your stay, like going in other people's space. I usually just like, go and casually take some pictures. I'm usually okay.
Right. But generally
You know.
speaking, the good thing about the dance competitions, just for everyone to know that. So it's a very standard process that every person who sign up for the competition, well, I don't know if that's a generally speaking or this is 100%, but you signing the model release with owners of the competition. So the
Yeah.
model release would say, I'm not sure many people are reading this stuff, but basically what you're stating by signing for the competition, you're saying, yeah, if someone taking images of me during the competition,
You don't need explicit
that is
permission.
okay. No one has to ask any more questions. And my images could be used commercially for advertising, for the video, for anything, for print, for posters. So you are giving away your, I don't know, privacy in a way.
Your look.
Your look.
You're not really giving away too much because you're already such a big audience. It's like kind of
Right,
just natural.
Right. So it would be very funny if you think that, oh, I'm dancing and you're telling everyone in the room not to use their iPhones or something. That's not going to
Yeah,
happen.
you can't do that.
So there is no way. But in any case, so when you're at the room, the mother release was already given to the owners of the competition, of the event.
Yeah.
Anyway, that makes the life of the photographer a little easier. At least you know that that's already given. So the dancers already know that pictures will be taken and pictures will be used commercially.
Yeah.
So and
Right.
pictures could be sold as well.
Yeah, commercially, whatever. Yeah. So hopefully that answers your question. And another one, are there any different types of cameras that are useful for different types of photos?
Different types of photos. I would like to know a little bit more of what
From what I interpret,
meant here, but
like different. I'm assuming what he means by this is different, like subjects, like landscape, portrait, food, whatever.
talked a little bit podcast as far as going like wide lenses versus telephoto lenses.
But cameras, I don't really think so. Like, this is kind of a tricky question to answer, but generally, no. There are
I
different
agree.
types of lenses that could be used for different types of stuff. Like, again, dance photography, very good with this with this lens. But you really wouldn't want to use like a macro lens for dance photography. Something doesn't add up, obviously, right? So that's more related to like close-up stuff. So obviously there are different types of lenses for different types of jobs, but cameras, not necessarily, not in photography, really. But actually, I'm sorry, there are a niche cases, Hasselblads, for more, which is super high-end stuff for like portraiture, like super high megapixel count, stuff like that, to blow up on the side of a building. That could be a use case. But for our mere mortals who can only afford $1,000, $2,000 cameras, not
Okay.
$10,000 cameras, No, there isn't. Cameras are versatile. You could switch out the lenses for different uses, but that's that.
For the basically, yeah, the bottom line is that the general commercial photographer, basically, it's a 2-3 different models are used from 2 or 3 different manufacturers, and you're not going to see many more of the variations there anyway. So
Yeah, it's gonna be
it'll be
fine.
it'll be more Canon in America, more Nikon in Europe, and
Yeah.
in Sony in multiple new locations for people who using still doing still imagery and video together. So not like
Yeah.
this camera cannot do that, but that's most of the people who using
Sony
Sony
also has
uh,
exceptional video.
focusing on the video
Yeah.
anyway.
All right. So, last question. Are there any certain counts or parts of the music that are easier to take pictures on?
Can you repeat that?
Sure. Are there any certain counts or parts of the music that are easier to take pictures on, like to snap a pic?
Oh, wow, that's an interesting question actually. Um,
I don't think you really think about this, but
no, but I
I
mean,
would say so,
actually, believe it
yes.
or not, I was looking at. Sometimes I'm looking. Well, I rephrase that question for me the way I'm usually thinking of that. So, um, it's not the type of the music; it's the type of the dancer or type of the dance you're looking at. Let's say if someone's
Yeah.
dancing, um, um, like American Smooth versus
Yeah, because American Smooth
versus
is much more smooth, is much more flowy versus like something like Cha Cha, which is very, very precise. Like here, let me just like come in here. Like I think, in my opinion, that there are some certain counts. Like for instance, like when there's like a hard like beat, like for instance in Cha Cha, it could be two because like a lot of stuff happens on two, like the New York when
mm,
people go out on two, that happens on two, and
oh,
that's where you can snap
okay.
a pic, right? So, but generally, we're not usually paying attention to the music all that much. We're paying attention to what happens there, and you can see kind of like them winding up for something or something's about to happen. Then you just snap a pic, right? But sometimes the music can help you to kind of be like look forward ahead of time to see if someone's going to do something. But generally, we're looking at the people in the viewfinder and see if they're winding up
But
or getting
listen,
ready for
we are
something.
listening to the music.
Oh, I'm not
When
saying
you're
we're not. I'm just
dancing,
saying
you're
mainly.
listening to the music. Sometimes I'm catching myself. I'm with the camera on the floor, almost trying to move on the floor, playing the music. So this is not uncommon.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I'm thinking of more like different dancers that are more photogenic dancers, and there are more um, who are easy to shoot, and there are more I don't know, I want to say technical dancers who
Like
are
more professional dancers.
maybe a little more so there are easy people to shoot, and there are more
Yeah.
difficult, or you need to be aware of many more things to have a good shot
Yeah,
of
we're
the
not going to
certain
dig
people.
ourselves a hole here, but
Right. So we're good.
yes. Okay. So I think that's gonna be for today. Um, but what are we gonna talk about the next episode? So, actually, there was another question that got submitted, and this is gonna be the next episode's topic. Discuss one of your pictures, like how you took it and the edits. Someone said
I would love to do that.
it's
That's a
it's
great.
basically like a director's cut, except for pictures.
Oh, okay.
So we're gonna be I'm gonna pop up an image on screen, and then we're gonna kind of go through how do we take it, and what edits did we do? Kind of just describing everything, like what camera, what settings, if we have that information. Just kind of more technical that episode's gonna be. But hopefully you can go to that episode and kind of maybe learn something from how we personally shoot and from how we edit, and maybe try to incorporate that or something on those lines into yours. Just kind of
Yeah,
like get different
I also
perspective.
want to add a little bit. I mean, it's not all technical. It's also I feel like when I'm editing, I'm an artist. So
Yes.
that's a portion where, depending on the skill of the photographer could be very technical guy, and there are lots of photographers who are just that, and
Yes.
there are lots of photographers who's thinking, oh, I'm an artist, and and they spending more time and they're using different tools, and so it's a combination of two.
I agree.
Okay, so I'd love to actually do that kind of thing.
Yeah, but this is for next time.
Okay.
So let's not talk about it now. All
Awesome.
right, then that's that. But so that's it for this episode. Again, if you have any questions, be sure to submit them. Come join us live, then I'll answer it right away. But apart from that, I think that's it.
Okay.
All right.
I think we covered it.
Yeah.
Today.
That was a fun episode, guys. Right. See you next time.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.